What is up, everybody? It's yours truly, Mike here, Air Raid Mike, and you are listening to the unscripted, unfiltered, 100% authentic, the Air Raid Attack all the way from Oklahoma City. Before I introduce to you our today's guest, I don't know where I want to go with this. Football season has arrived. College football, Clemson, you got upset by a team that is named Duke, which I give props to that program. But I'm not want to really talk about that. But what I do want to say is this: definitely stay tuned for the podcast. We got so much coming up here in the coming months that you definitely want to stay tuned for. But without further ado, let's talk some sports. We're going to be talking today. We'll be talking some football as we preview week 1 and preview the NFL season. And then we're going to be talking some wrestling for all your wrestling fans out there. And if you're watching on YouTube, preferably on the Air Raid Attacks Twitter page, definitely at Air Raid Podcast. And I will do my best to chime in on those comments. Without further ado, let's introduce to you today's guest, the host all the way from Long Island, New York, the very own host of the Time to BS Podcast, which I highly recommend checking out, my good friend, Mr. Dan Staniel Smooth. My man, Dan, what's up, my man?
Clemson deserved to lose in every way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Here
I have no sympathy for that cocky-ass fan base that has, especially Alabama. Good God, you've ran college football for how long? And
almost a decade,
you
if
lose
not more.
to Duke. Cry me a river, for God's sakes.
No, honestly, dude, that's good for college football because, here's
Thanks
the deal.
for having me, bro.
It's good. No, dude, I'm always glad to have you on. It's been a while, but none better than my good friend, and I appreciate you. And what's funny is, dude, that's good for college football because
yes.
Duke. Come on now, Duke.
Duke is known for basketball and lacrosse.
Exactly.
That's it. When was the last time Duke had a defensive player of the year in the NFL? Who can name that? Someone with, more football knowledge than the two of us can figure that out.
Well, and before we move on is here's the deal. We're talking about Duke. When was the last time they beat a top 10 opponent in football?
Yeah. I think the 80s.
It would have to
go back to the 80s.
Yeah, it's got to go. It's got to go. Woo! It's got to go way back there. But without further ado, I will look that up here shortly.
I think it's the 83.
Last time. But I will say this, ladies and gents, Dan has something to pick with the New York Mets fan base. And mind you, we're both Yankee fans. We are clearly understand if you're watching it on the live show. We clearly understand the Yankees are in dead last in the AL East. They're 18 games back in the division. More than obviously, it's not going to happen with them winning it this year in the division. And we understand that the Mets are 27.5 back out of the NL East division.
You deserve it.
And
all of you deserve it.
And the Yankees 8 back in the wild card, and the New York Mets 7.5 back. So, dude, the mic is yours, and we understand.
It's not even just Met fans; it's New York baseball as a whole. I've been the first to tell you this.
New York baseball, as we speak, neither the Yankees or the Mets. We could easily not see this year in this year's playoffs.
There are a majority of Yankee fans that are rational Yankee fans that will tell you this season had to happen.
Yep.
They will tell you that with a shadow of a doubt, this season had to happen to expose the flaws, the significant Grand Canyon-sized flaws in this baseball team. They have Garrett Cole, Aaron Judge, half of Aaron Judge, depending on how you view him. To a degree, Anthony Volpe, Jason Dominguez, and Austin Wells, the three rookies that have been called up this year.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. Yep. Stan's been hurt.
Yep.
Donaldson got released. Bader got waived. Mm-hmm. He got picked up by – who did he get picked up by? Cincinnati?
Cincinnati Reds.
And The pitching outside of Garrett Cole, who was an AL Cy Young favorite at one point, has been garbage.
Yeah, they've been horrible.
Garbage. So, and like the Yankee fan base is divided in 50-50 split in this case. 50-50 split are like, oh, the Yankees will be fine next year. And the other half is like, no, this needs to happen. Just get rid of everyone. Like, trade everyone with outside of the five I mentioned before, Dominguez, Wells, Volpe, Judge, Cole. Outside of those five, trade everyone. Get as much value as you can get back for them.
Absolutely. I would absolutely this offseason. Well, first of all, I still believe Brian Cashman needs to be removed from his position. I don't see that happening, but that's the step one, number one. I think number two, I think Aaron Boone's done. I don't see my personal opinion. I don't see him making it into the 24 season. Could be wrong, but I don't see that. Stanton isn't one. If I'm the Yankees, regardless of who your GM is next year, I know his contract is absolutely horrendous.
He can't run. The dude can't run anymore.
If I'm the Yankees, somehow, some way, they need to work something out where they can get him off that roster.
Imagine he goes back to the Marlins. That'd be hilarious. That'd be hilarious in every way, shape, or form. And all you Met fans out there who've been clamoring and saying, oh, the Yankees suck this year. For God's sakes, your team has been pathetic since 1987, with the exception of 2 World Series appearances. I don't want to hear it.
Yep.
I don't. And, a majority of Met fans are all dudes in their mid to late 20s who drink shitty beer and still think they're in college. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong. And then occasionally you get the hot Met fans every now and then who don't know a shit thing about baseball. They just go there to try and pick up dudes.
Mm-hmm.
And I see it all over the place. And they all still think the same way. They're all so delusional. Yeah, us Yankee fans, the irrational ones I mentioned before, can also be very delusional. There was a time where Yankee fans were like, we need to trade for Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani at the same time. Sure, say goodbye to your farm system.
Well, that's what exactly. No, you're absolutely right. No, you're absolutely right. Yeah, in order for us to even remotely, get those, you would have to literally trade the entire top 10, probably 15 prospects just for those two players alone.
Yep. Actually, if not all of them.
No, absolutely. No,
if not
I would
all
not.
Of them. Yep.
I wouldn't even touch that.
I'm in no mood to talk about the Angels and their dipshittery of stupidity galore, but just the Met fans are just so delusional. They really thought that a 40-year-old, that a pitching duo of 2 40-year-olds, granted 2 Hall of Famers in Justin Verlander and Max Scherzer, granted those 2 are going in the Hall of Fame with that hesitation. But to say that those 2 were going to help take the Mets, who, by the way, can't hit to save their fucking lives.
Nope.
Their bullpen is hot garbage.
Yep.
Edwin Diaz going down with his knee exploding certainly did not help that situation at all. It annoys me to no end. And these particular individuals will constantly say the Mets are fine. The Mets are fine as they down an entire bottle of Jameson down their throats. So, listen, I'm not the one to, shy away from saying that my team sucks. I'm an Islander fan. I can't say shit. My team, with the exception of the last 5 years, has been garbage for all but 20 years. Has been garbage for a majority of the last 20 years. So I really can't say shit in this regard. The Seahawks, we know my thoughts on them the last, 7 or 8 years, but I've been gladly wrong about certain things, but hey, things are okay. With Met fans, they will constantly say things how they're never wrong. They're never wrong. Sure, you can run a team better than your general manager who's getting paid millions of dollars to run a baseball team, and you're not. So with all due respect, shut the hell up, the entire city of Queens. Please. Shut up, all of you. Please. God.
And you know what's funny, Dan, is the fact that when you look at the payroll tracker, the top 3 teams. Well, first of all, let's go be honest. The top 2 teams is both in New York. The Mets at number 1, the Yankees at number 2. The Mets with the payroll of what was it, 343 million?
$360+ million.
Exactly. And the Yankees about 270, 280, somewhere in that
Yeah.
ballpark. And then the Padres are at 250 something, I think 256 or
Something stupid like that, yeah.
Yeah. I think it's hilarious that your top 3 teams, not only are they on the verge of not making the playoffs, the Yankees and the Mets, they need a miracle at this point to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
The Padres aren't too far behind them.
No.
To where your top 3 teams in payroll is going to miss the playoffs this year.
Do you want to know something even more hilarious that I think you would love?
What's that?
The Mets paying former players alone makes them the 17th highest payroll in baseball. Just the players that they're paying that are no longer on the team makes them the 17th highest payroll in baseball. That's hysterical.
I love that.
You're starting to see this new change of like, oh, we don't need to spend hundreds of millions of dollars to be competitive. Prime example, the Marlins up until a few weeks ago,
right,
and the Seattle Mariners. I mean, the Mariners are, what are they, first place in the AL West?
Correct, Mundo. They're tied with the Astros right now.
Where'd the Mariners come from?
Well, I mean, Texas, I think they're 4th in the payroll market. And they're right in the race with the playoff race too.
Texas is just the Rangers are just garbage. They're just they confuse me. What have they lost? They're like 10 of their last 13?
Yes, sir.
So yeah, there's that. Baseball. Delightful.
You want to know something hilarious on top of that?
What's up?
So going back to Clemson Duke real quick.
Yeah.
The last time Duke beat a top 10 team, September 1989. Guess who was against?
It was against Clemson.
It was against Clemson, who was ranked 7th at the time.
That's hilarious.
33
34 years.
34 years ago. Yeah,
34 years.
Old as my
That's
brother
funny.
is. So
That's
34
really
years
funny.
ago, on 34 years ago, they beat Duke, or they beat Clemson, and again 34 years later, they beat them again. So congrats to Duke.
Yeah,
that might be your only good win of the year. Who really knows?
Who knows? Duke might be fine, but you know what? Clemson has had enough to cheer for. Alabama, especially, considering they've played, Mercy College the last, every week for the last 7 or 8 years. So, respectfully, shut up, both of you. I've had enough of Alabama football. Like, enough. You play cakewalk schedules every year, and people think you're the best team in college history. Shut up.
Clemson. Here's the deal with Clemson. I like Dabo. Before we go into the NFL, I like Dabo.
Good coach. Very good.
Oh, absolutely. Phenomenal guy. What I read and see behind closed, what I read about and watch on videos, etc. Excellent. Excellent guy. But I think he finally been figured out in the ACC.
Good. Please.
I hope.
Enough.
I hope so.
Florida State's getting better. The University of Miami's getting better. College football will be so much better with those two in particular, just having bloodbaths of a rivalry every year. Oh, my God.
Florida State spanked LSU.
Oh, my God. It was beautiful.
Enough the SEC, I'm telling you. They had
Brian
a rough
Kelly. There's another one. Brian Kelly.
Overrated.
Who thought this man was a good head coach?
overrated.
Did LSU really just bite into the Kool-Aid and said, hey, we're going to pay this guy hundreds of millions of dollars to be mediocre at best as a head coach for LSU? A team that not that long ago went 15-0 and won the national championship.
Right.
Like, what?
Brian Kelly is writing his. How could I say this without really making it sound bad?
Please do.
Brian Kelly, if you really look at Brian Kelly, what has he done?
Nothing.
He started at Cincinnati, and in my opinion, I thought he did a decent job at Cincinnati, but I didn't think it was that great. Let me pull it up real quick. And so you're looking at Brian Kelly. He's writing his name, and for anyone to think me that sit there and says, "Well, he's going to do something at LSU," and he may that might be the only loss of the season.
Yeah,
and it's not a bad loss. I'm not knocking. Well, they lost by 21, but the point of the matter is
lost to an up and coming Florida State team.
Absolutely, no, absolutely, and so it's not a bad loss, but
no, it's not.
You look at Cincinnati. Okay, cool, 10-3, 11-3, 12-0. But let's be honest, it's Cincinnati.
He's more known with Notre Dame.
We look at Notre Dame, 8-5, 8-5, 12-1, but got humiliated by Alabama in the national championship game. 9-4, 8-5, 10-3, 4-8, 10-3, 12-1, who got again humiliated by Alabama. 11-2 in the Cotton Bowl, 11-2, 11-2, 11-1. Okay, well you can say, well, he hasn't done that bad, Notre Dame. Well, let's be honest. Look, who has he scheduled? Notre Dame's an independent. You can practically schedule anybody that you want. LSU, 10-4.
Saban, same guy. Saban is the same thing. And I'm going to get screamed at, and I know it. But Nick Saban, like, people say that Nick Saban would be a great NFL head coach. He tried. He tried with the Dolphins. We all know how that turned out. NFL history is forever altered because of one decision he made. He decided to sign Dante Culpepper over Drew Brees in 2006.
Yep.
The trajectory of the New Orleans Saints is changed forever because of Nick Saban. So the only reason Saban went back to college football in the first place is because it was easier for him.
Well, yeah.
It was easier for him. Look at him. I could have that's a terrible thing to say, but I certainly could not coach a college football team. I could not. But just enough with the narrative that Alabama's such a great football team. Just enough when you play North Texas State on a weekly basis. Like, enough. Christ.
Well, and here's what I'm thinking. The guys from In the Flat podcast came on 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And we had a discussion along with Randy from Lord, I can see his podcast. But anyway, sorry, Randy, if you're watching this. My mind completely went blank on his podcast.
You've been busy the last few months anyway, so.
So I'm looking at this is the fact that the question was, and I'm going to ask you the same thing: is the Alabama dynasty in your eyes over, and are we seeing Georgia making the next one to be the next Alabama?
Oh God, hard to say.
By the way, Randy, Dan Beast Media. I'm sorry, Randy, if you're watching later on. I completely dropped a Dan Beast Media podcast. Listen to him as well. But the question is to you, Dan: is Alabama's dynasty over? Is Georgia's next one up?
It's hard to say because what we know too well about college football it's a bigger business than the NFL. Is that college football will push billions of dollars towards the most marketable teams. Prime example, when Penn State, just my Penn State bias coming in, but when Penn State won the Big Ten title in, what was it, 2016, 2017? Ohio State gets in the playoff anyway.
Yep.
Like, if we're talking about this from a logical perspective, the following year, Georgia was number 1. Alabama was what, 3rd?
Mm-hmm.
And those two met in the national title game in Atlanta. We all know the story of what happened.
Right.
Okay? The only difference is of the last couple of years where Cincinnati got in the playoff like 2 years ago and rightfully, deserved it. And then last year, TCU got in. They made it to the national champ without Michigan choking on a fork. Michigan would be in the national title game. TCU doesn't get in. So if we're talking in that logic, it's completely hard to say because, call it the NCAA will push billions and billions of dollars to making Alabama, 15-0 again. They will do anything to do so because it's Alabama. If the NCAA had to pick a 4-team playoff of the teams they like to suck on the most, it's Ohio State, it's Notre Dame, Alabama, and maybe USC.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. It's those 4. An honorable mention, maybe Oklahoma.
I could see Oklahoma.
Don't lie. You know I'm right. Don't lie, Mike. You know I'm right. Bob Stoops and Barry Switzer were like a word.
All I want is this. All I want to see this year is USC and Oklahoma in the bowl game.
That'd be great.
Oh,
that'd be
if
great.
If Oklahoma can play. Now, here's the deal. I'm not going to sit here and say that everybody's going to be like Arkansas State where we can just put up 73 points and shut them out.
General Booty your quarterback and we'll all be fine.
Dude.
Make him the starter.
Make him the starter because that's just the thing. What better name? First of all, it's General Booty.
The NIL guy coming towards him like wildfire.
Did you see his commercial? His little boxer commercial?
Victoria definitely a secret with General Booty's around.
Shout out to General Booty, who is a follower.
Shout out to Charles Barkley, by the way.
Follower of the podcast. But here's the deal.
Victoria definitely a secret in San Antonio. We don't know that for sure. I'm sorry, YouTube. I'm sorry.
Here's what I'm thinking. It's General Booty. You're not making this up. It's General Booty. His NIL commercial was freaking hilarious. It was
awesome.
Whatever. I mean, it was pretty cool.
It was great.
But of course, who doesn't want to buy boxers with booty on the back? But anyway,
oh my God.
The point of the matter is this: if at the end of the season this year, and we're just like last year, and I made the case on Herman Rogers' podcast a week or two ago, I made it to a few others in the past as well. I still believe to this day, TCU should not have been in the Final Four last year. The key is your 4 best teams. Alabama, and I know where we're gonna go with this. Well, you're beating, where you're contradicting yourself. Alabama at the time was probably your best team. TCU got lucky against Michigan, and then we found out that TCU against Georgia, they just was completely and utterly outmatched.
That was a spanking and a half.
That was horrible.
Oh my God. Jesus.
But no, you're right. I think Oklahoma. You can throw in Oklahoma. You can throw in, of course, Alabama. When you're a team like that, and you're on the bubble to get in. It's all about the name and the recognition of that university.
Yep.
It's not about your 4 best teams. It's not about Cincinnati or Memphis, or it don't matter who, Tulsa, even though they have no prayer to be ever in that conversation. But the point of the matter is those programs have a leadway, regardless of what people want to say.
It's a money game. That's all it is. That's all it is.
But hey, to each his own. Congrats to Duke. Big time win. That was the best upset of the week. So obviously just week 1. So without further ado, let's get things going. Dude, we got football, man. NFL is back.
I'm excited. I'm so pumped.
Dude,
I'm so pumped. I mean, you have confidence. I have confidence. You've had more confidence in the last 6 or 7 months than you've had in the last 5 years.
facts.
Like, seriously. Like, Sean Payton was the best hire you could have made.
Well, that was the only one that made sense. I mean,
It was the only one who made
it's
sense.
really the only option that they had. I mean, I know we had to give up that first, but at the end of the day, we had to do that. There's no, well, let's go after so, or hey, let's go, whatever. No, Sam. Sean Payton.
Coach.
Yeah, Sean Payton was the
a
guy.
coach.
Yeah,
That a coach.
That was him.
That was the thing. You can't keep going after, I don't know. Who was the Dolphins DC that you hired before? Who was it?
You talk
years ago, after Kubiak retired. Who the fuck?
Oh, Vance?
Vance Joseph. Yeah,
Vance.
You can't keep hiring the Vance Josephs or the Pat Shermers of the world or any of those guys. Like, you have to, you gotta go and say, we need a coach that's going to help us win now. And the thing is, prior to last season, if Sean Payton was coaching that roster, you're in the playoffs. Abso-freaking-lutely. Like, you had Bradley Chubb, Randy Gregory, Surtain, Kareem Jackson, Justin Simmons. You had a solid effing defense.
Mm-hmm.
You had a really solid defense. And the best thing that Sean Payton's going to bring to you guys, without hesitation, is command. Like, he comes from the Parcells coaching tree. And that sticks with you for eternity.
Well, absolutely. And here's the deal. Here's the deal with that I like is the fact that now you got Sean Payton. Obviously, he's won a Super Bowl. He knows what it takes. He obviously can help develop.
Yep.
Is he the guy? He's the only guy, in my opinion, and I think we discussed this a while as much as possible as well. Is he's the only guy that can fix Russell Wilson, besides Pete Carroll? Because we realized right now,
God, I was so wrong.
It's got to be a Pete Carroll thing. That if Russ does what Russ did last year, maybe it was a Pete Carroll thing after all, Dan.
You tell that to me 5 years ago, I would have slapped you across the face. God, I was wrong. And I'm proud to be wrong. It's glorious.
But no, we got we got football back. Week 1 is underway on Thursday. Detroit, Kansas City. Of course, we could be without Travis Kelce. We're unsure on that one. But out of this week's schedule, Dan, what is a game, of course, besides our own personal teams, what is this week's game that's kind of catching your eye that you're kind of interested in watching this year or in week 1?
Well, aside from our own teams, I have the schedule in front of me right now. There is a Monday Night Football game here in New York between the Buffalo Bills, and the delightful Church of Josh Allen, and the New York Jets, led by their new quarterback, Aaron effing Rodgers.
Yep.
When I tell you I'm fascinated to see how the Jets will look, that is an understatement, because they had a top 5 defense in football last year. And if they had, good to average quarterback play last year, playoff team. They were 6-3 at one point with, Zach Wilson. Think about that.
Mm-hmm.
And, there's not a happier guy in the room than Zach Wilson, because he was the 2nd overall pick in that draft, and there's not a better teacher for him to play quarterback than a 4-time MVP in Aaron Rodgers. And you see it on ESPN, but you don't see it like in the New York side of things because you're over there in Oklahoma.
Right.
But I tell you that the Jets fan base is ready to party. I'm not kidding. Not kidding.
Well, and I think I'm with you on that one. Is I think this week's game, of course, I'm still interested in how Denver does. But here's the and here's the game that I'm really more interested in, and is the Jets and Buffalo, simply because, again, like you said, the Jets, what was 6-3 with Zach, and then you got Aaron Rodgers coming in with the weapons that they brought in, Alan Lazard, and so on and so forth. I'm curious how the Jets do. Your first Monday night game, as his first game as a Jet, regular season wise. I understand he played a little bit in
Yeah.
preseason, but I don't really care about that.
Yeah.
First game in New York in the regular season. We know how the fan base is in New York. They're going to cutthroat you regardless. Ask the Yankees and the Mets and the Knicks and the Islanders and the Rangers and so on and so forth.
Yeah, they'll tear you to shreds.
Yeah, I'm really curious how Aaron Rodgers comes out and plays. I really, really am. Is he going to be the Aaron Rodgers that we've seen in the past? We don't really know. Is he going to be the Aaron Rodgers that we think he might be? Potentially. He could be the Aaron Rodgers of like Tom Brady and Peyton Manning, that their final year of their career was not really great. So I'm really curious. And of course, Buffalo needs to find a way to beat Kansas City. But they're not playing Kansas. I get
not
that,
just Kansas City. They have to deal with the Bengals now too. The Bengals are going to be scary good. But if Aaron Rodgers throws, I don't know, 34 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, and like 4,000 yards, and doesn't make a ton of stupid decisions and or mistakes. Let the defense eat. Let the offense do their thing. Aaron Rodgers plays all 17 games, and he gives the stats that I just listed before. They'll be fine. That's it. Like they'll be fine. Jets fans have plenty of skepticism, rightfully so, concerning the last 15 years of whatever the hell we just saw on TV for the last 15 years, i.e. the butt fumble, perfect example, or the entirety of that season, have at you, the 2012 season. But, just Aaron Rodgers doesn't need to be MVP Aaron Rodgers.
No.
He needs to be Pro Bowl to All Pro at best Aaron Rodgers. That's it. Because if you do the things that I just listed before, plus you give the defense plenty of time to be comfortable, they're going to be fine. That's it. And then come December, we're talking about them as a potential 1 seed of the AFC. That's how good this roster is.
What's your thoughts on, of course, if all the listeners out there, if you don't know, realize if you haven't really paid attention to the show much, or you're new, Dan is a huge Seattle Seahawks fan. And what are your thoughts on the 23? I was about to say 2024, the 2023 Seattle Seahawks.
Can you believe it's been 10 years?
I know.
Can you believe that?
Time flies, dude.
I feel old, man. God damn, it sucks. But, it's... I've had a lot of time to think about it. And it's been, honestly, since Russell Wilson got traded. I've had a lot of time to think to myself and say, okay, fine. If they sucked this year being last year, that's fine. If they beat Russ week 1, which they did, but even if they just suck to ass for the rest of the year, that's fine. That's fine. Of course, they made the playoffs last year. Some argued that they should not have been there, but I mean, I've had a lot of time to watch the preseason games, the 3 games that they played, watch the rookies that that played on the field, that were on the field that weren't healthy for majority of it. Drew Lock, of course, played for a majority of the preseason, and I am confident enough to say that we actually kind of have 2 starting quarterbacks somehow. But
in a way you do.
If you were to tell me this time last year, Geno Smith at one point would have been an MVP candidate, I would have told you you're out of your effing mind. Because you're a Big 12 guy.
Yep.
You remember Geno Smith is 4 years in West Virginia.
Yep.
That man tore defense to shreds.
Him and Tavon Austin probably was the best QB wide receiver duo in the Big 12.
Him and all 3 of them, Geno, Tavon, Ed Stedman, Bailey.
Yep.
Don't forget him. Like, bombs away galore over in West Virginia. But I digress. Pete Carroll's in his wheelhouse, and it's you have expectations to do okay, at least make it to the playoffs. But with the uncertainty in San Francisco, with the Rams being okay at best, amazingly, and the Cardinals doing whatever the hell they're doing down there,
tanking.
They're openly tanking. Let's be real here. They're gonna trade Kyler by midseason. There's no way they don't. But I mean,
not when they can potentially get Caleb Williams.
His contract says otherwise, but
exactly.
But we could potentially say, hey, Pete Carroll, how do you feel about the Seahawks potentially winning the NFC West? If I were him, I would say, fuck it, I'm in my wheelhouse.
Right.
The offense is going to get better. Full year of Kenneth Walker, you drafted 2 running backs, Charbonnet in the second, and Kenny McIntosh in the 7th round out of Georgia. They got good tight end depth. They got great receiver depth now, which never happened. Let's be real.
Right.
I mean, yeah, they got Lockett, they got Metcalf, they got 2 superstars. They had this kid that came out of effing nowhere in the preseason, Jake Bobo, which I don't know if you looked at his stats. The man is 6'4" and runs like Wes Welker. That's the perfect description that could come with Jake Bobo. Where did this man come from? UCLA of all things. Chip Kelly, what are you doing over there, man? Anyway.
Hey, Chip can coach. He just can't coach in pros.
He can't coach in the pros to save his life. Say Philadelphia for details. But, they got a 7th rounder, Derek Young, who's a big body 6'3" guy. And then the kid who they took in the 1st round this past April, you may have heard of him, Jackson Smith and Jigba, who tore up Utah a new asshole in the Rose Bowl one year for, what was it, 350 yards receiving and 4 touchdowns? Like, he was ridiculous. And like you have 3 number 1 receivers on that team, plus a good offensive line, plus a defense that has to get better. Well, my God, they got to get better. If the defense is top 15 at best, they're fine. Because the NFC West is not great. Well, the NFC in general is not great.
No.
Outside of Philadelphia and maybe San Francisco, it's not a great conference.
And I'll be honest, dude, I'll even throw that out there. I'm not even comfortable with the 49ers this year.
No, I wouldn't be either.
Mm-mm.
If what we're hearing, like, it's Trent Williams and who else in the offensive line? It's George Kittle who's getting up there. You have, Deebo Samuel and a couple of guys at wide receiver. Christian McCaffrey is not the Christian McCaffrey of years old. Say what you want. And we don't know if Nick Bosa is going to play for the first quarter of the year.
Well, no. And, I'm just going to throw this out there, and all the haters can hate whatever you want to say. That's cool. If you're watching on whether it's YouTube or Twitch, definitely chime in your thoughts. I'm going to go out on a limb and even say that I think Brock Purdy was a one-hit wonder.
it's hard to say because of the fact that, oh God, it's hard because this happened before. If you recall 10 years ago, like 11 years ago, Alex Smith was the guy. He gets hurt against Chicago. Colin Kaepernick takes over, takes them to the Super Bowl and the NFC Championship game the following year. So it's hard to say because we've seen this happen before. And that system is a very quarterback-friendly system. The Shanahan offense is very quarterback-friendly. You would know. His father, Mike Shanahan, Denver all-time great head coach.
And should be in the Hall of Fame.
It's a crime he's not, but, whatever. But I'm so tempted to say San Francisco regresses so bad that, like, they make the playoffs, but they're like wild card at best. I'm so tempted to say, but that defense scares the daylights out of me. Like, even if it was just Nick Bosa and Fred Warner, I'd be terrified because Nick Bosa scares the shit out of me.
Who would you say wins the NFC West this year? I think it's a toss-up between. I think my overall answer, I'm going to go San Francisco, but I truly believe it could be Seattle though this year too. I just think I'm just leaning more towards the 49ers, but this is a tough one.
It's tough because
it is. Yeah,
it's tough because if Seattle's defense gets a lot better than where they were last year, they could win that division. Like, that offense can score 40 on anyone. With Geno Smith of all people, but anyway, unbelievable. But wow, but I don't know. I mean, I want to say San Francisco, but you might be right with the 1-year wonder thing.
Mm-hmm.
And if the Bosa contract situation drags on like Chris Jones in Kansas City, both of them could lace it up in week 7.
Well, absolutely, yeah.
Seriously, like, deserve their contracts, yeah, but like, fuck. And I don't know how deep you've looked into San Francisco's cap situation the next few years. It's cap hell and a half.
Interesting.
So they need to do something. They need to do something and need to do it fast because, like, they might not have they don't have a choice but to sign Nick Bosa. He's your best player by default.
Well, absolutely, yeah.
By default. He gets hurt, that defense crumbles. But to answer your question, call me biased, whatever. I'm wearing it on my hat. I think it's their year because this is his wheelhouse. This is Pete's wheelhouse, and expectations, but not a lot of expectations. And we know what happened 10 years ago. It's been 10 years. God.
That's been insane, dude.
Wow. We're old.
Wow.
Fuck. We're just going through a time warp, man. We're in flashbacks left and right. Wow. It's enough of that. We need to move on before we start talking about 90s baseball.
Oh, God.
Oh, man.
Real quick, I'll give you, of course, I think, on the Denver aspect, again, the schedule is pretty hard. I think I saw in one of the articles I read, the 8th hardest in the league. But what I feel comfortable with the Broncos this year is the fact that their defense is a whole lot better than it was even just a year ago, simply because you got all they got to do, dude, is this: rush the passer.
Yeah.
You got Randy Gregory. Now, granted, he's got to stay healthy, But if he can
Yeah.
stay healthy, he can have a full productive season. He
Yes.
hasn't ever played more than 14 games in the season. So, and
Yeah.
that even goes
Yeah.
back, previously. So back to Dallas years. So then, unexpectedly, they bring, which I didn't realize we were making a run for him, but Frank Clark.
Frank Clark was going to get released, 2 years ago. People think that he's a great player, but yeah, he shows up every now and then. But if you get the Frank Clark that was, that's an animal consistent in the playoffs in the regular season, yeah, home run move. But
Then you look at then you look at during preseason and during camp this fall or this past month, Jonathan Cooper has been very consistent.
Yeah.
When it comes to rushing. Nick Bonito, I gotta be a little biased, but I gotta give credit where credit is due, is that he's shown up and he's shown out that he's ready to make that jump in that production. They expect I think Baron Browning supposed to be back in week 4 or 5, somewhere in that time frame from his knee surgery from a year ago.
Yep.
Defensively, they're set. They got the best, in my opinion. I'd be a little biased, but you can't really argue it. PS2 was one of the up and coming corners. And you got one of the best.
That's such a great nickname for a corner.
Dude, PS2.
PS2 is great.
Exactly.
That's great. And his numbers, too. That's awesome. That just makes things so much better. The inner nerd in me is satisfied. I love that shit.
And then, so that's your strength. Then the weakness. And we all know the weakness.
Your offense, you did sign. Hold on. You did sign 2 great offensive linemen on the market.
And Ben Powers
is very good. Mike McGlinchey, say what you want about him. He's a very good right tackle.
Mm-hmm.
Very good. Tim Patrick did go down. That sucks. But your boy, Marvin Mims Jr., you were excited
Boomer.
when they drafted him.
Boomer.
You were so excited when they drafted him, and I was for you too. Jerry Jeudy in the slot, Marvin Mims and Sutton, on the outside. That's a really good trio of receivers. Granted, Mims is a rookie, but still. And your offensive line did get better. It did get better. And, coaching helps. If Russell Wilson doesn't just hold the ball for, 30 years in the pocket to try and go and make that big play and just gets the ball. If they just establish a quick passing game, they're going to tear it up. Because that's the Sean Payton system. It's, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, quick read. Every second you make a read. And then you make your decision, throw. He made a career out of it with Drew Brees.
Yep.
And before him, Drew Bledsoe in Dallas and Kerry Collins with the Giants.
Yep.
People forget that, by the way. Kerry Collins, Heisman Trophy winner at Penn State, by the way. Was he? To the internet we go. Give me a second here.
You got it.
Continue. Please continue what you're saying.
So the Yankees.
Yeah, we're talking about a lot of baseball, man.
Exactly. The Yankees. Yeah, forget about postseason ball. The Broncos here. I think as long as Russ stays healthy and Russ can do what Russ did in Seattle. Now, I understand he had a horrific last year, but could have been just a change of scenery. I don't know. But they're set. I mean, they're set up. Excuse me, they are set up to win. But the key is they got. And I think I've heard Frank Clark say that in one of his press conferences during camp, and that was somebody asked him, is the Kansas City Chiefs, Denver Broncos still a rivalry? Blah 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 blah. And why would anybody be mad at what he said? I mean, he made it loud and clear. It's not a rivalry when somebody's beat you 14 straight times in a row.
Yep. He was as honest as it may come.
Ask Oklahoma State. It's not a rivalry when your big brother has beaten you 90-something times, 92 times out of 100 and 92, 19, and I think 2 or 3, something like that. It's not a rivalry. It's just not. And so, we got to beat Kansas City. That's number one. And they've got to beat some. They've got to win some games that they are supposed to win, and they got to win some games that a lot of people don't expect them to win.
I was wrong, by the way. John Capilotti is the only Heisman Trophy winner in Penn State football history in 1969. Wait, what? Yeah, 1973. Close enough.
Yep.
Wow. So Kerry Collins did not win a Heisman Trophy winner. He did, however, go undefeated in 1992, which, by the way, is a crime that Penn State did not go to the national title game, but whatever. Continue.
So a question that came in, who do we think will win this year? This person obviously is a Bears fan, and they obviously would love to see the Bears win, but realistically, they are aware that it may not happen.
They're going to get better.
Real quick before we get to wrestling, Dan, your season preview, division winners, wild cards, and then your playoff picks here.
So, in the AFC side of things, I'm going to go from 7 to 1. For starters, I do think Denver makes it. 10-7, Dolphins at 6, Buffalo at 5, Jacksonville, and the division winners. Jacksonville wins the South. I think everyone and their mother's going to pick Jacksonville to win the South that year or this year. Bengals at 3, Kansas City at 2, and I am buying the Jets hype. I'm buying the Jets hype at number 1. I'm going to buy it. Oh boy. For the NFC side of things, I think New Orleans sneaks in. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna turn up a notch. I think Bryce Young and the Panthers get in at number 7. Followed by the Giants, San Francisco, New Orleans at 4. They win the NFC South. Detroit at 3. Philadelphia at 2. And call me crazy. I don't think Philadelphia does as good as they were last year.
Nope.
Sorry, Oklahoma fan Jalen Hurts. But yeah, I do think they tie though. Seattle and Philadelphia. I think they tie for the 1 seed in the NFC. Super Bowl? Oh, fuck. Fuck. Could it be on the 10-year anniversary of the first world championship in franchise history? They go back. My heart says yes. My brain says, eh. I'm buying the Jets hype full way through. You know what? Screw all of you. Middle fingers to all of you. Jets Seahawks meet in Las Vegas at Allegiant Stadium for Super Bowl 58.
Whoa.
Screw all of you. Hot take. Let's go. Where's my money?
Wow. Okay.
I'm buying into it. I'm confident. I'm so confident in I can't believe I'm saying it. I cannot believe I'm going to say I am confident in Pete Carroll to lead the Seahawks again back to the Super Bowl. I can't believe I just said that. And the Jets, we haven't talked about the Jets being Super Bowl contenders since 1998.
Yep.
Think about that. Actually, if you want to go further up, Brett Favre in 2008. Remember when he was with the Jets?
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
We do here. What about you, my friend? What do you think?
All right, so first, I gotta say this: the last 7, and this, if you're Philadelphia fans, I'm not saying that this. I'm not giving out any hints. I'm giving you a little factor. The last 17 quarterbacks to lose their Super Bowl debut have not made it back to the Super Bowl. So just so you know, Philadelphia fans, I'm not saying that you're not going back this year. I'm just kind of throwing that out there. So let's start from the AFC 7-1. I do think, your division winners is pretty much, I'm going to say, is this. It's going to be Buffalo in the East. It's going to be Cincinnati in the North. I'm going to go with Jacksonville in the South. I don't think Tennessee is there with Ryan Tannehill. I don't Indy, I don't know what's going on with that with Anthony Richardson, and then the Houston C.J. Stroud. I don't know. We'll see. But Jacksonville, I still think wins the South, and unfortunately, as much as I hate saying this, Kansas City wins the West, and rightfully so, because here's the deal: you got to beat them, and until you beat them, you got to repeat them. So.
Yep.
No, I didn't try to make that rhyme. Just how it came out. So that's your 4 division winners. Now your 3 wild card teams. I got the Jets being the 1 wild card. I got Denver being another, and then I'm going to go out on the limb, and not really much of a limb, but maybe some will be a shocker. Will be Pittsburgh. I'm going to throw
Really?
I'm going to go Pittsburgh and throw that in there. I think Kenny Pickett gets it in. I think he does a little bit better than this year.
Huh?
But Baltimore can't stay healthy. With Mark
they
Andrews, and I'm still not so completely sold on Lamar, even though he wants his money. So there's your 7 from the AFC. Then your 7 from the NFC. Your division winners. Eagles make it from the East. The North, I'm going to go and say Detroit in the North. I give God, that South is horrible. Let's go to the West. Seattle in the West. That South is still horrible.
The Saints, hold on. New Orleans roster on paper looks really good. And Derek Carr is an upgrade over Andy Dalton. Let's be clear with that. So
let's go. I would say Baker, but that's going to make me look stupid. Let's go with the Saints.
Your OU bias is clearly showing with Baker Mayfield and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
I really want to get.
South.
I really want to give Baker.
What's next? The Cardinals win the NFC West,
and then Seattle wins the West.
Thank you.
And then I don't think Arizona wins, but 4 games this year, to be honest.
They're going to win 2 games.
Yeah,
they're hot garbage.
Your three teams is going to be Minnesota out of the North, San Francisco out of the West, and then Dallas I got coming out of the East. Your Super Bowl team, see, this is what's going to be interesting because I don't think Kansas City repeats.
No.
I don't think Denver gets there.
You better hope not. I wouldn't hear the end of it then.
Oh, I would love to see that happen, but I don't see that happen. I'm going to go, and I don't think every year I always say Buffalo. Here's my prediction. I'm going to be probably way off in left field and probably completely wrong, but here I go. Cincinnati and Detroit.
Interesting.
As my Super Bowl.
Did not see that coming, but interesting.
Well, I mean, why not, right? I get all these.
Sure, why not? Yeah,
I get all these things all wrong, and go.
No, you're right. Yeah. You're right. Screw it. Why not?
And Baker, if you prove me wrong, I will be your best friend. So
Jesus Christ, Baker.
But
oh boy.
Alrighty, as we wrap up
the end of it.
Let's go down.
We saw 3 Oklahoma quarterbacks. I want to hear the end of it.
Dude, that would be amazing. But real quick, dude, for all you out there, listeners out there, let's talk some wrestling. Dan, did you see the newest roster on Raw this week?
I did.
So
I did.
I'm excited for Jay. I like his new theme song. Just Meet Me. That's pretty cool. Where is WWE? Where is this? I'm really completely confused at this point, dude.
So
where are we at with this storyline with the bloodline? Are we done? Or what's going on? Because what are we doing with Jay and Raw?
So if you recall, of like WrestleMania 28 was, the most hyped main event ever at that time. John Cena was going into WrestleMania 28 against The Rock in the main event. And it delivered, rightfully so, because it was a star-studded main event. Deservedly so.
Right, no, absolutely.
The following year, they main evented again, with Cena winning the Rumble and main eventing WrestleMania 29 with the current WWE champion, The Rock. So, if history does repeat itself, do I think Cody's going to win back-to-back Rumbles? I don't know. But he could enter the Elimination Chamber, which does count, technically. If you win the Chamber match, you get a title shot.
Right.
You get a title shot. Part of me says I want to see him win back-to-back Rumbles. Has not happened since Stone Cold Steve Austin in 96, 97? 97, 98, excuse me. I got the hamster when my brain was turning. But they got to do. They have to pull the trigger. They're gonna do it. If we know the wrestling business well enough, Cody's the guy. Cody is the guy. Unless if CM Punk somehow enters or exits from wrestling exile again and re-signs with WWE, knock on effing wood, but please, that'd be hilarious. But
I could see him come back in Royal Rumble.
That'd be hilarious. That'd be hysterical.
Because where is CM Punk from?
He's from Chicago.
Do we know where the Royal Rumble was at this year? Let me see. Or next year?
I think it's in Orlando.
I think you're right. Royal
Give me
Rumble
a second.
20.
I think it's in the Citrus Bowl.
Where's
the Royal Rumble?
I want to say it's down in Florida.
Yeah.
Rumors that there's massive speculation on CM Punk returning either to Survivor Series or to the Royal Rumble.
Huh. I think the Rumble makes more sense. I would bring him back at the Rumble.
I would say bring him at the Rumble because, we're unsure as to why he was fired at AEW. I don't know what AEW is trying to do. And here's the deal. And here's why I was trying to figure out if obviously we don't know what goes behind closed doors with Triple H and the creative staff and so on and so forth. But here's the deal, and here's what I'm kind of thinking of is the fact that we got Jey Uso, and then we got Jimmy, and we could easily say, could we see? So I'm trying to figure out how we could set this up for WrestleMania 40 between Jey and Jimmy, and I just cannot see it unless one of them wins the Rumble, or. Well, that couldn't. Do
you know my honest thought about this whole thing?
Or could we see Jey dethrone Seth?
The World Heavyweight title, which if you haven't paid attention to WWE enough, they're now 2 World Championships back officially. The World Heavyweight Championship has now made its glorious return after a 10-year exile. And it looks beautiful. Anyway, the current Intercontinental Champion, who's, by the way, going to overtake the longest-running joke in wrestling history, the Honky Tonk Man, as the longest-reigning Intercontinental Champion in history. It was 453 days or some shit like that? Some atrocious number.
Yeah.
But, which is hilarious, but that the Honky Tonk Man held it for that long. But Gunther has main event championship written all over him. All over this man. And if he wins the Rumble, I wouldn't be shocked.
No.
I would not be shocked at all. Because they're going to milk this bloodline story until WrestleMania 40 in Philadelphia. Which I would hope to the wrestling gods of Terry Funk and so forth, that he wins the title at Mania. It doesn't make it. It would not make any sense otherwise if he lost at Mania back-to-back years. Would not make a drop of damn sense.
No.
At all. Because he's as over as they come in his entire career, in fact. And he's he's their guy. They've been milking him to win the championship at Mania for 3 years. So pull the trigger. Do it. They're going to. But I don't know. I mean, I'm not making decisions.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm definitely that's way above my pay grade, and probably my creative storyline probably want to fit it. I just want them to figure out what they want to do with the bloodline. How are we going to officially end this thing? Because I know it's got to be coming soon. Because we got Jay in Raw, Jimmy's doing whatever he wants to do in SmackDown. Roman's back and forth. I'm sure whatever. I don't know what WWE, but I will say is I don't
give the third Uso, Solo Sikoa, some mic lessons.
Exactly.
And he's Batista.
Ooh.
Like, they called him the Samoan Street Champion in NXT for a reason. Like, that man can fight. And he needs a more wounded up moveset or whatever. He needs to, put up more muscle or whatever, and that dude looks like a Samoan Batista. Shorter, but a Samoan Batista. That's his potential. Jay's a main event guy, whether you like to admit it or not. Jimmy, I mean, this is his chance to really see what he can do in a solo run. Because when he was hurt, it was Jay getting the main event run during the beginning of all this. That's how this whole bloodline thing started. Main event Jey Uso. That's what happened. Jimmy Uso was hurt. And then Jay got inserted in the world title picture against Roman very early on in this whole thing. So, I mean, my whole thing during this whole bloodline thing has been trust the process because they're doing something. Like, they're doing something. I mean, we certainly did not like what happened at this past SummerSlam, but whatever. That's been my thing. I did not like Damian Priest winning the Money in the Bank. I didn't.
Well, see, that's what I was kind of going with too, because that's why when they threw in that Jey Uso thing, that's why I was really wanting to talk mainly about that, because you got Money in the Bank, Damian Priest, that, and then of course Jay. That kind of throws everything all in the loop, because I thought, and I'm gonna be honest with you, dude, I thought he was gonna cash it in and beat Seth in SummerSlam. That was my thought.
That would have made a lot of sense, but I mean, it's again, trust the process.
Yep.
Something's up. What exactly? I don't know.
And we're not going to know.
I certainly don't know. That's what it is.
Well, I'm curious of how that's going to work. But as we wrap up the show, I do want to spend a few minutes, not long, but as we all know, if you were sleeping behind a rock, then you obviously missed it. But Bray Wyatt suffered a heart attack on August 24th and passed away. And I'll be honest with you, when you text me, I was in total shock because, Bray Wyatt, everybody was trying to, kept talking about he's going to make his return. We don't know when, but he's coming closer to making a return and so on and so forth.
Yep.
Very young of age. Very young of age.
They were talking about bringing back the Fiend character when he was gonna make his return.
Yep.
They were gonna bring back the Fiend, and I was all for it. But when Bray debuted in NXT, again 10 years ago, Jesus, time warp. But looking back on it, he had a match against The Undertaker at WrestleMania 31. which it was a good match, but that's who I compared him to. I thought he would be the next Undertaker.
No, absolutely. Yeah.
And, and say what you want about his WWE career. Say what you want. If you liked the Wyatt family cult leader thing, if you liked the Eater of Worlds gimmick or not, I personally loved the combination of the Wyatt family and the Fiend character because I thought they were both awesome.
Yeah.
From wrestling fan perspective, people everyone started coming out, like current and former WWE wrestlers who were with Bray or even around Bray got to know the man Wyndham Rotunda. The two people who I felt for the most outside of Bray's wife JoJo and their kids were Braun Strowman and Eric Rowan. Absolutely. They lost in 3 years. Luke Harper and now Bray.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you saw the SmackDown after Bray passed.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't. I could not because I was going to be an effing wreck. And when someone texted me that when Bray passed, someone texted me the news, and I had to go through Twitter to make sure it wasn't a bot.
Well, that's what I thought when you text me, because I'm like, here we are. They're about to bring him back into wrestling again.
Yeah. He was good. He was good to go. And then when I saw Triple H tweeted, I immediately texted him after I sent that. And after I sent that message, I broke down in tears because I was like the first people I thought of were his wife JoJo, Rowan, and Strowman. Like, absolutely. Like, just, God.
Yep.
36.
Yep.
36. And again, say what you want about his career, but the man was one of the most creative minds in wrestling history.
Absolutely.
History. Dude. Like, to go from cult leader Bray Wyatt to the Fiend and then to Uncle Howdy character, which I thought was going to be effing brilliant.
Yep.
The fact they brought back Bo Dallas specifically for that was awesome. But by the way, his brother. There's another one. There's a fourth one. I feel so bad for Bo. I feel so bad for Bo Dallas. Like, oh, heartbreaking all around. Like, yeah, Terry Funk hurt because he was 79 and he wasn't doing too well either way, and is one of the great hardcore wrestlers ever.
Oh, ever. Him and Cactus Jack had the best hardcore matches.
Oh my God.
And anybody that wants to argue that, I dare you to argue that.
Oh. By the way, speaking of hardcore and ECW, WrestleMania 40 is in Philadelphia. The first person who I thought of should headline the Hall of Fame is Paul Heyman, without hesitation. ECW's birthplace is in Philadelphia. It makes too much sense.
He's another guy I'm surprised it's not in the Hall of Fame.
How he isn't in the Hall of Fame, not just from ECW, but from managing Brock Lesnar. Bringing in the baby boom of 2002. It's just CM Punk. And his legacy gets amplified by reviving Roman Reigns' career. His career gets revived because of Paul Heyman. The tribal chief, head of the table, longest title reign in 30 plus years, does not happen without Paul Heyman. Does not. ECW does not happen without Paul Heyman.
Well, no.
Nothing. Headline the Hall of Fame, Paul Heyman. WrestleMania 40 in Philadelphia. Too much sense. But, oh, jeez. Like, someone also said that the Wyatt family needs to get inducted in the Hall of Fame, and I would not be opposed to that at all. If they did like an induction, a posthumous inductee of all four members, I'm for it. Because anyone who knew the man Wyndham Rotunda knew the man was a walking teddy bear. Like, he was a delightful person. And I'm seeing like all sorts of videos on Twitter of people saying like, Bray, you saved my effing life. Like,
yep,
that's Bray Wyatt, the person. That's who he is, and I don't remember his death, very too well, but you do more than I do. Was Eddie Guerrero. When Eddie passed, it was just fuck.
Well, yeah, because I remember that because I think he passed over a weekend, and of course they had that thing on Raw. But that was some. Of course, they found him, unfortunately dead in his hotel room, and many believe overdose or alcohol with whatever. But
whatever you think happened, whatever you view on Eddie Guerrero, the man was a treasure. And he's one of the great personalities in wrestling history. And him winning the WWE title over Brock Lesnar at No Way Out 2004 is one of the great moments ever. Because you look at what that man had to go through just to get there. It's inspirational is an understatement.
Yep. Now I remember Chris Benoit and the list goes on, but no, I mean rest in peace to Bray Wyatt.
By the way, fuck Tammy Stitch, just throwing it out there. Speaking of Bandito, fuck her, and not her porn star name. Like, fuck her.
Is there something you want to? Is there something you want to say there, Dan?
Well, it's for those who do not know, Tammy Stitch, formerly known as Sunny, from you remember her with the Legion of Doom or the Road Warriors, depending on the generation that you're in. Both, She was the bombshell over there, and when she left wrestling, she got into porn, which is hilarious because a lot of former divas got into porn. Looking at you, Paige and China. Rest in peace, China. But anyway, by the way, congratulations to the new AEW Women's Champion, Saraya.
She will eventually be in the WWE
Hall of Fame.
Oh yeah,
Paige. Yeah, sure. Yeah. Let's go with that. But Tammy Stitch, I mean, just Tammy's career post wrestling, Tammy's life post wrestling, just pisses me off. Because not only did she ruin her life with her addiction, abuse of alcohol, abuse of drugs, whatever. But if you look up Vice did a Dark Side of the Ring documentary on the late Chris Candido. If you remember him, you will know where I'm going with this.
Oh, do you remember him? Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that's all I need to say about
her. I will say this on the final one. I will say this. The Attitude Era Divas are 10 times better than what we have right now.
Hold on.
You
Hold
don't think
on.
so?
Hold on. Because those are two different eras we're talking about here. So there was an argument that someone brought up that Ronda Rousey should go in the WWE Hall of Fame like in the next 2 years. And they have a good point. Because without Ronda, the main event of WrestleMania 35 does not happen. Without Ronda, the boom of the women's division does not happen. Well, she's one of the reasons why it doesn't happen. But you look at her resume. 3-time women's champion, Royal Rumble winner, main event of WrestleMania 35, women's tag team champion, even though those belts are cursed. But anyway, her career is identical to Beth Phoenix, like almost completely identical. They wrestled in the almost exact same time or amount of time, same championships. The only difference is that Ronda main evented a WrestleMania against Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch. Which, by the way, that does not happen without Ronda. Does not happen. So, and Charlotte Flair is another one that just needs to go the hell away. But
she needs to retire, step away.
Go. God, enough of her. God, it's like every time she speaks, she gets a title shot. What does that remind me of? John Cena, with all due respect. But you can argue all 4 members of the 4 Horsewomen are Hall of Fame material.
Yep.
Sasha Banks, say what you want. Bayley, Becky Lynch, who, by the way, is challenging for the NXT Championship. By the way, the NXT Women's title. She's also the only one out of the 4 of them who has not won an NXT Women's title. How that is, no idea. But I think between the 4 of them, they have something like 25 titles. Some ridiculous number. And they're all going in. Whether it be at the same time or one at a time. They're all going in. But if you look at the women's champions as a whole from this era being the last 10 years as opposed to the Attitude Era, different discussion, because at that time it was just, arguably Mickie James, Trish Stratus, and Lita. Those 3. Very good argument, those 3.
Yep.
Maybe Michelle McCool and Molly Holly are in there somewhere, but regardless. Or Victoria, depending.
Where would you throw in Sable, Tori Wilson, and Stacy Keibler at?
Sable, by the way, is 10. I think Jesus. Tori Wilson. Is she in the Hall of Fame? To the internet we go.
While you talk that up, look that up. Because I'm trying to think of the Attitude Era, because you had Stacy, you had Tori, you had Sable, Trish, Lita.
Yeah.
You had Molly Holly. Sunny. Do you remember Sunny, dude?
That is Tammy Stitch. Yes.
She looks horrible, by the way.
I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is Tori Wilson in the Hall of Fame? 2019. She was inducted in 2019. Really?
I missed that one then.
I missed that one entirely. Wow.
Yeah, I completely missed that one.
As I was saying, women's champions. There's also a 5th one or a 6th one we need to put in there, and that's Alexa Bliss.
I like Alexa.
She's like, what, a 5-time champion? Something like that?
Yeah.
Bianca Belair's gonna get on that list too eventually.
Raquel Rodriguez, I think they're going to start utilizing
Raquel Rodriguez
eventually.
and Rhea Ripley is a phenomenal rivalry.
Oh, absolutely.
Just coming. It's just waiting to happen.
I could see Bria taking it up to WrestleMania 40 and Raquel beating her on that one.
By the way, there's another one. Asuka.
Ooh, awesome.
Asuka's there too.
Yep.
People forget Asuka went before she came to WWE was the most feared woman on the planet. No one wanted to wrestle her. Like, no one. So, like, I just listed, 10 women off the top of my head?
Yeah.
From the last 10 years. Beth Phoenix, Natalia, say what you want, but, like, they're there.
No, I can see your point now. Could see your point.
The product has certainly not gotten better.
No,
as opposed to 20 years ago.
No, the Attitude Era is still going to win regardless. As the best,
Attitude Era simply,
yeah,
the Attitude Era simply wins because of from 97 to 2002. There was not a better period of wrestling at that point. There was not, and Stone Cold Steve Austin is on the Mount Rushmore of WWE because of what he did in '96. Without him winning King of the Ring in '96, none of this shit happens.
They need to bring back King of the Ring, by the way.
They did. I believe they did. I believe they are bringing it back.
They need to.
I think it's a whole pay-per-view.
Sweet.
I believe it is. But one last dig, because we mentioned CM Punk before. Did you get a chance to read all of this shit?
Well, I actually watched Tony Khan's thing. That was Did you hear what he said? Well,
I've never been more afraid
of my life and my staff's life.
Dude, you're a pencil. You look like a pencil. You look like a Coca-Cola bottle.
Dude, what's he gonna?
This is Tony Khan.
Dude, what's he gonna? What? Right here, I got one. This is Tony Khan for all you. There you go.
Pen. Yeah, Mike is holding a pen for those who are listening.
Can't see it, but whatever.
But Tony Khan looks like every dude that has been stuffed in a locker in high school.
True.
Just put glasses on. Just put glasses on him, and he looks like Napoleon Dynamite with black hair, except shorter, significantly shorter.
Well, yeah.
But oh my god, the first instance that came to my mind, the first thing that came to my mind during this whole thing was Hulk Hogan and Dixie Carter with TNA.
Yep.
First thing. Because it's like you are relying on wrestlers who don't know a shit thing about how to run a business.
Nope.
And say what you want, wrestling is a business.
Yep.
Same with the NFL, especially with the NCAA. Hockey, basketball, football, baseball, soccer even, whatever. Cricket is a business. Sports in general is a business. Boxing is a notorious business. UFC. Dirty, but business. Tony Khan just pulled the single dumbest decision I've ever seen a wrestling executive do. Ever. Because for those who do not know, CM Punk was fired or released from his contract from AEW. This is the equivalent to John Cena in the prime of his career being fired by WWE, which thankfully never happened. But that's the comparison here. Tony Khan then has the cojones and a half to go in front of the entire city of Chicago in the United Center, by the way, CM Punk's hometown, and give a statement about this whole thing, which, by the way, Tony Khan did not make this decision. The Young Bucks and Kenny Omega did. You know why? Because, like it or not, CM Punk is bigger than the Young Bucks and will continue to be bigger than the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega combined. Say what you want about all of them in Japan. Whatever. or Ring of Honor or whatever, wherever they were. Kenny's more known in Japan, but anyway.
Oh, absolutely.
Because, New Japan Pro Wrestling. But anyway. The Young Bucks made this decision because their egos were hurt. Because CM Punk was top seller merchandise in literally every single department known to mankind in AEW. The AEW fan base will side with the Young Bucks because you say anything bad about their company, they will hunt you down like a pack of wolves.
Yep. No, it's a cutthroat business of what it is.
It's a cult-like fan base, and you can't criticize anything with AEW, whether it was the terrible product, single storytelling, the terrible booking. Granted, the talent is there. We know that. The talent is absolutely there, but there's no great booking, no great performances. There are way too many goddamn championships there.
Yes, there is.
Oh my God. What are we up to? 30 belts now?
I'll look at it. While you keep talking real quick, I will look that up.
4 world championships, if you include their partnership with TNA? Like 4 or 5? Like, what the hell? Like,
I'm looking that up right now. So if I can champions.
They bought Ring of Honor. Great. They brought Ring of Honor back from the dead. Sort of. That's great. Good for them. Other than that, it's not great business decisions. Because if we know anything from how TNA did business back when Dixie Carter was president of that company, and when Jeff Jarrett burned it to the ground.
Yep.
Jeff Jarrett burned it to the ground because he thought Vince Russo was a great idea. Who is writing this crap with AEW? Is Vince writing this? Is Vince Russo with AEW? Please.
I kind of like to know that.
Do a deep investigation on this whole thing. If Vince Russo is part of AEW, I would not be surprised. We all know how much Dave Meltzer loves to dick suck AEW. We all know he is secretly we all know that Dave Meltzer is R. Kelly to the Young Bucks over in AEW. That's a terrible joke. Oh, I feel gross now. I need a shower.
I feel gross.
Oh man. Oh, there's enough of that. That's a double whammy. R. Kelly and the Young Bucks. That's terrible.
Dude, that's horrible.
That's horrible. But anyway, he was the biggest draw the company ever had in their short history.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest draw they've ever had. And to do what they did 2 years ago, we thought was unheard of at that point. Bringing CM Punk out of exile after 7 years.
So I looked that up. Storyliner is Tony Khan.
Yeah.
He's the story writer.
Oh, he's the writer?
Yep.
He's
the head booker, and he provides the outlines for each show.
Oh, Jesus Christ. It's not as bad as Vince, but it's pretty close. Jesus. Vince Russo burned 2 companies to the ground, if you count.
And the reason why he does that is because he actually last year he came out and said that AEW does not need writers because he works with top talent.
Huh?
So there you go.
Come again?
You're
telling me
courtesy
you're
of
relying
ringsidenews.com
on wrestlers
to
decide the fate of their own matches.
He said that while speaking on Wrestling with Freddie, AEW president Tony Khan talked about the company not having writers. Khan stated that he does not need writers because he works with top talent. He also gave credit to MJF and CM Punk for their feud, and it dates back to 2022. And the statement was practically that he gives all the credit to them, CM Punk and MJF. I am the administrator in a lot of ways, and what I think is really cool.
By the way,
people ask why I don't have a lot of writers is because I work with top talent. We will develop top storylines and programs. I will do everything. Say you'll do this and this and this.
So to sum it up, you're you're not the head decision maker either, because that title belongs to Chris Jericho, Kenny Omega, and the Young Bucks, who, by the way, just fired your biggest draw in the history of your company.
Yep.
Because their egos were hurt.
Yep. Courtesy of ringsidenews.com, dated back on April 13th of 22.
Why can't we just put our egos to the side and just do what's best for the effing business? How hard is that? Apparently it's impossible. Just enough. Enough.
Tony Khan is going to kill AEW.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see. But no, I mean, AEW... I don't know. I started watching the AEW, kind of gave him a chance. I don't like where they were headed to. I just kind of gave up on it.
They jumped the shark with who the fuck was it? I think that, yeah, they jumped the shark with the brawl out thing last year. Like, it's like you jumped the shark because you had a fantastic feud incoming with a returning MJF and the new world champion, ironically, in CM Punk. That was going to be all-time great. And you fucked it up because you can't put your egos to the side and do what's best for business.
Nope.
You just can't. And this has so much TNA written all over it. It's not.
Oh, absolutely, funny. Dude.
It's not even funny. And TNA has significantly better talent. Well, performances, let's be clear with that. Like, the talent is, to be determined how you feel about it. But, it's... God. All this situation with, like, the whole CM Punk fiasco just pisses me off. Because everything just annoys you, this whole thing. Jesus. Enough. All of it. Football, come closer. I need a distraction.
And for less than 40 hours.
And soon, hockey. We all need hockey back. Oh.
We need basketball, we need hockey, we need football all back.
Well, more hockey for me, more basketball for you. But, we all in agreement we do need football back.
Well, football, dude. I'm perfectly fine with football.
We all do need football back.
Well, guys.
We have college football back, which is a start. But
yeah, and how we started off is Clemson losing to Duke.
Fuck you, Clemson. You deserve it. And Alabama, I hope you lose 4 games this year.
Just for this week, beat Texas. That's all I ask.
No, you know what? I want chaos. I want chaos. I want all of it. I want all the chaos. Lose to Texas so I can not only laugh at Mike, but also laugh at the entire Alabama fan base, who, by the way, is bigger than the Patriots fan base the last 20 years.
Oh, by far.
Just enough of all of you. Who was Alabama's head coach before Nick Saban? Even I don't know.
It was Mike Shula.
Mike Shula?
Let me go real quick. I want to say it's Mike Shula because and the reason why I say that, no, Dennis Francione.
That's even worse.
Let me see here real quick. No, I think it was no, because I think it was.
Are you doing it off the top of your head? Who was Alabama's?
I'm looking at now. I want to say before Mick Saban, I believe it was Dennis Francione, and I think before Dennis Francione was Mike Shula.
Oh, Jesus.
But don't quote me on that. I think that's how that worked, though.
Oh, give me a second. I got you. I have it. Oh, Jesus, you want You were half right. Mike Shula was in from 2003 to 2006, but in between, they made a coaching change for Joe Kynes. Oh, I want all of the chaos. Please. I want all of it. Texas, for the love of God, make me proud. Sorry, Mike.
Oh, I'm way off by Dennis Francione. So Dennis Francione was first, Mike Price, then Mike Shula. Didn't Mike Price? I don't think Mike Price even served a head coach game because I want to say Mike Price was fired. Was that before? But I think he was fired at UTEP for that same thing.
He was fired before the season started.
Yeah, because I think he got caught with a.
He never coached a game.
He either attended a strip club or he got caught with a stripper. I cannot remember.
Oh, either way, all of it is
either way
hilarious.
because I think the same thing that took place at UTEP. Maybe not. So I'm way off. Francione was first.
Mike has only two great head coaches in their entire history.
Oh well, yeah, Nick Saban Bryant. And Paul Bear Bryant.
Yeah. Oh boy, everything's great. Everything's great. I want chaos. I want all of it.
Alabama, beat Texas for me this week, please.
No! The football gods show no mercy. Amen.
All right, guys, we're gonna end. We're gonna end on that one. You've been listening to the Air Raid Attack podcast. Listen to us on all major podcast platforms. Mr. Staniel Smooth, our guest tonight. Where can they find your podcast at, and where can they find you?
You can find me at Staniel Smooth on Twitter and Instagram, or whatever it is now. Whatever Twitter is now, and you can find the podcast at Time to BS Podcast on Twitter and Instagram. And just search Time to BS with Staniel Smooth on Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
Do you still
YouTube is a work in progress.
What was that?
YouTube's a work in progress.
Ain't that the truth? Do you still do treads or whatever that crap that thing was?
I don't. I go on it from time to time. I don't care about social media as I did in years past. I just don't care.
Yeah, same here. I'm slowly starting to lose it. But anyway, long story short, guys, that's our show. Enjoy it. Give Mr. Staniel Smooth a listen. And guess what? We'll be back same time, same place next week. Have a wonderful week. And until